have a natural element of laziness and to excuse ourselves. And so we all need to hear this. I'll make my one caveat at the beginning. This text is talking about those who could be working and aren't, not those who can't work and won't. And so please don't apply it where it's not to apply. Having said all of that, this portion of the text that we're dealing with here, remember the larger context, this book of 2 Thessalonians was written to a church who had been misled by false teachers and had become to the point where they believed that they had missed out on some coming of the Lord, the rapture, and that they were potentially enduring the last days of tribulation. Paul writes to correct that information. The first two chapters have been dealing with that. And even in the beginning of chapter 3, Paul's been addressing that well, that what you've believed has had some ramifications, have been very negative for the church. And so we've dealt with that. At this point, Paul is addressing what is evidently a group or some in church that are failing this area of working. Now, we imagine how that could. We've actually seen this in history when there have been micro groups of professed followers of Christ that say, the Lord is coming at this date or this time. And when they become fully convinced of that, we've seen often that they will give up their normal life's behavior and just sit and wait for the Lord to come back. And if you read history, you'll find sometimes there have been people who've given away all of their material possessions, and then outside and under a full moon on the third month of the 16th year of the year 20, all of that, and waited for the Lord to come back because that's when it was. There have been others more subtly that have said, I just think the Lord's come back, or maybe a specific time in their mind. And so they let loose, they relax, they give up, they quit doing what is the right thing to do. And so that evidently was what was happening here. What is certain is, and we don't know the motive, what is certain here is that there were some who were refusing to work. And when Paul uses the word disorderly here, that's what he's talking about. He's not talking about them interrupting a service and being out of order in such a way, but their disorderliness was that they weren't abiding by the order that God has established. And that is that you should work to make a living, to provide yourself and your family and your homes. And there were some that were refusing to do that maybe it was a result of wrong belief. Maybe it was laziness. Maybe it was just a desire to pursue ease and pleasure. We're not certain. We're told all the motives. I have also thought that it could be that some of them feared persecution. We know that in Thessalonica, the believers were persecuted. There may have been some that said, well, if I go to work, I'm just going to be abused, just going to be persecuted. It may have been real, it may have been imagined. Herb talks about the sluggard who says that there's a lie in the street and he won't go out and work. And we recognize that. Is it possible that there's a lion in the streets? Well, yeah, it's certainly possible that there could be something out there that would attack, hurt, to harm you. Is it imminent? Like, can you see the lion in the streets? Well, no, I can't see it, but there was one once upon a time, or there might be one, or I heard a rumor could be, so I'm not going to have any chances. And the Lord says, that's a cover-up, is what that is. That's a cover up for being absurd, for being lazy. It could be there were some that were using the potential of persecution as a cover up. Well, I don't want to. If I work, they're just going to take advantage of me. Might be, but maybe not. And I think it's possible that there's some that truly did have unpleasant jobs. In the day that Paul writes this, there were many of the believers in the church who were enslaved. They were slaves. A large percentage of the population this day in Rome were slaves. And that's why we read our New Testament, Paul often gives instructions to those who are slaves and to those who are masters. Now, the parallel and the application today is much more in our culture, is much more employer-employee, and the principles remain the same. But never forget that there was a literal sense that there were people in the pews of the church, so to speak, who also who only had an obligation to work for a master. And you could understand why that person might say, you know what, I don't think it's the Lord's will me to work. Lord's coming back soon, I'm staying home today. And Paul says, is not following the plan that God has for mankind. The plan is that you would work. And what I've said leading up to this, knows where we're coming, is that belief affects behavior. What you believe will almost always, or in time, it'll come out as a behavior. Either a lack of action or an action that's taken that may not reflect what you've said externally or what you've identified with, but it is actually what you believe in your heart. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7 says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And that's in the context of someone who may give you good things, but it may not actually reveal what their heart is. And beware of that person is the warning of Proverbs 23. And so when a person, think of another person, they may be flattering, they may be generous, but that may not be their heart. You may be appearing to be one thing on the outside, but your heart is else on the inside. And in Matthew 12, we have that story, the illustration there of a tree that is known by its fruit. The Lord says to the Pharisees that they were a brood of vipers, they were snakes. And he says, how can you, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure brings forth evil things. In the course of time, what's in the heart is revealed, whether it's good or bad. What Paul is saying to the church here is, you've allowed these false teachers to cause you to believe things that aren't true. And as a result of that, what you believe is now